The unexpected champion. The stench of fear permeated the holding cells beneath the grand arena of Varia. Maya Chen sat motionless on the cold metal bench, eyes closed, breath measured and controlled despite the caustic chemicals in the air designed to disorient non-Viridian species. Around her, other prisoners, captured beings from across the galaxy, paced, wept, or sat in catatonic despair. Unlike them, Maya's stillness wasn't born of resignation but of concentrated focus. 3 standard months had passed since her capture during what should have been a routine reconnaissance mission on this alien world. 3 months of calculated submission, of careful observation, of playing the role of a weak human specimen while gathering intelligence on the Viridian Empire. Today would change everything. The door to the holding area slid open with a hydraulic hiss. A Viridian guard, his iridescent blue-scaled skin gleaming under the harsh lights, pointed a shock baton in Maya's direction. "Human, you're next." His voice resonated with the distinctive dual-toned quality of his species. Maya opened her eyes slowly, deliberately projecting an image of terror she didn't feel. "Please, I'm not a fighter. I'll die out there." The guard's mouth stretched into what passed for a smile among Viridians, revealing rows of serrated teeth. That's the general idea. Entertainment through extinction. She allowed herself to be roughly pulled to her feet, stumbling convincingly as the guard shoved her toward the preparation area. Her apparent weakness seemed to amuse him, exactly as intended. Earth intelligence had learned long ago that being underestimated was one of humanity's greatest tactical advantages. In the preparation area, attendants fitted her with the minimal protective gear allocated to non-champion combatants, barely enough to prevent immediate death, but sufficient to prolong suffering for the audience's enjoyment. The lightweight synth mesh covered her torso, but left her arms and legs mostly exposed. She made a show of trembling as they secured the fastenings. "This one won't last 3 minutes against Drozek," one attendant remarked in the Viridian tongue, unaware that Maya's neural implants allowed her to understand every word. Another attendant laughed. "Humans, such fragile creatures. No significant muscle density, no protective exoskeleton, no natural weapons. It's almost cruel to put them in the arena." Maya kept her expression blank, her eyes downcast. Let them believe. Let them all believe. The attendants presented her with a selection of basic weapons: a short blade, a staff, a set of throwing discs. She deliberately chose the staff, appearing to struggle with its weight as she tested it. The Viridians exchanged amused glances. A thunderous roar signaled the completion of the previous match. Minutes later, attendants dragged a bloodied, 6-limbed being past them. Whether dead or merely unconscious, Maya couldn't tell. "Time for the human," announced a supervisor. "Drozek is ready." Maya was escorted through a dark tunnel that sloped gradually upward toward a square of blinding light. The sound grew deafening as she approached. Thousands of Viridians filling the massive arena. Their collected voice a physical force that pressed against her. She emerged into the arena to jeers and mocking laughter. The fighting space was a perfect circle, 200 meters in diameter, covered in red sand imported from various southern deserts. Ancient bloodstains had turned the sand dark in patches, telling stories of countless deaths for the Empire's amusement. Standing in the center of this killing ground was Drozek, champion of the 6th Quadrant, undefeated in 372 consecutive matches. His blue-scaled body, nearly 2.5 meters tall, was enhanced with ceremonial armor that accentuated his impressive musculature. A series of bony ridges extended from his forehead down his spine, adorned with metal rings signifying his victories. Maya maintained her facade of terror, letting the staff drag in the sand as she approached the center. The arena master, suspended in a hovering platform, began his announcements. "Citizens of the glorious Viridian Empire, today's final match presents our beloved champion Drozek against a specimen of the species known as human, from the insignificant outer rim planet designated Earth." The crowd's response was a mixture of cheers for their champion and derisive laughter at the mention of Earth. Maya absorbed it all, feeding the anger into a place deep inside where it would be useful later. Drozek circled her slowly, his ceremonial war staff, twice the length of Maya's and adorned with energy projectors at both ends, held casually in one hand. He was putting on a show, demonstrating his contempt. "Is this a joke?" Drozek's amplified voice boomed across the arena. "I was promised a worthy opponent after my morning exercises. Instead, they send me this soft, pink creature." The crowd roared with laughter. Drozek played to them expertly, a lifetime of arena politics evident in his performance. "Look at it." He prodded Maya with his staff, not hard enough to injure but sufficient to make her stumble. No scales for protection. No claws for fighting. Not even proper muscles to move its pathetic limbs. Maya allowed herself to be pushed around, counting his steps, noting his balance points, cataloging the minimal blind spots in his defense. The neural computer embedded at the base of her skull was capturing and analyzing every movement, feeding tactical data directly to her consciousness. Drozek leaned down, his face close enough that she could smell the metallic tang of his breath. "They say your kind achieved spaceflight. I find that difficult to believe. Perhaps you had help from a superior species." The crowd howled with delight at the insult. Maya kept her eyes downcast, her grip intentionally awkward on her staff. The arena master raised his ceremonial baton. "The match will continue until one combatant is unable to continue or signals surrender. Champion Drozek, as is your right, you may offer mercy terms before commencement." Drozek straightened to his full height, addressing the crowd rather than Maya. "For the glory of the Empire and the entertainment of its citizens, I offer no terms. This human shall experience the full might of Viridian superiority." The response was deafening approval. Maya finally raised her eyes, meeting Drozek's gaze directly for the first time. Something in her expression gave him pause, a momentary flicker of uncertainty crossing his features. The arena master dropped his baton. "Begin." Drozek lunged with practiced precision, the energy tip of his staff aimed at Maya's midsection, a non-lethal first strike designed to incapacitate and prolong the spectacle. It was the standard opening move from a champion who knew the audience wanted their entertainment to last. Maya didn't move until the very last instant. Then she shifted, just enough for the staff to miss by millimeters. The movement was so subtle that many in the audience didn't register what had happened. Drozek himself seemed momentarily confused, having expected either an amateur's clumsy block or the satisfying impact of a direct hit. He recovered quickly, spinning the staff in an impressive display before launching a more complex attack pattern. Maya continued her performance, appearing to narrowly avoid his strikes through desperate, uncoordinated movements. Each near miss elicited gasps and groans from the crowd, who anticipated her inevitable defeat with cruel anticipation. For 3 full minutes, she maintained the charade, allowing Drozek to drive her back across the arena, apparently toying with his helpless prey. The champion began to grow frustrated with her continued survival, his attacks becoming slightly less controlled, slightly more committed. "Stand still and die with dignity," he snarled, quiet enough that only she could hear. "Not today," Maya whispered back, speaking for the first time. The change happened in an instant. As Drozek committed to a powerful overhead strike, Maya's posture transformed. Her awkward hunching disappeared, replaced by the balanced stance of a trained fighter. She pivoted smoothly, deflecting his staff with a precision strike of her own. The unexpected resistance threw Drozek off balance. Before he could recover, Maya executed a spinning sweep that connected solidly with his legs. The champion staggered, more surprised than hurt, but the crowd's collective gasp was audible even over the general noise of the arena. "What is this?" Drozek growled, his dual-toned voice dropping to a threatening register. Maya finally straightened to her full height, staff held confidently in a proper combat grip. "This is humanity," she replied, loud enough for the nearest audience members to hear. Drozek's eyes narrowed, reassessing his opponent. He attacked again, this time with his full skill and speed, abandoning the performative aspect of the match. Maya met him blow for blow, her movements crisp and efficient. The neural enhancements beneath her skin allowed her to process combat data at superhuman speeds, predicting his attacks milliseconds before they came. The audience fell into confused silence as the supposedly inferior human not only defended against their champion's attacks, but began to launch effective counteroffensives. This wasn't in the script. This wasn't how humans were supposed to behave. Maya moved with fluid grace, her staff becoming an extension of herself as she executed combat forms that no Viridian had ever witnessed. Earth's special forces had incorporated fighting techniques from hundreds of human cultures, enhanced by modern technology and adaptive training. Against Drozak's power and experience, she wielded precision and unpredictability. A rising murmur spread through the crowd as the match extended beyond the expected 3 minutes, then 5, then 10. Drozak's expression had transformed from contempt to concentration to growing concern. Sweat glistened on his scales, while Maya appeared barely winded. "What are you?" he demanded during a momentary separation. Maya didn't answer, focused entirely on the flow of combat. Her neural computer had completed its analysis of Drozak's fighting style, identifying patterns and preferences in his technique. She began to exploit these systematically, forcing him into increasingly defensive positions. The turning point came 14 minutes into the match. Drozak, growing desperate, overextended on an aggressive thrust. Maya sidestepped, captured his staff with her own, and executed a disarming technique that sent the ceremonial weapon flying from his grasp. The arena fell completely silent. Drozak stared at his empty hands in disbelief. In 372 matches, no opponent had ever disarmed him. The silence stretched for 3 heartbeats before he roared in rage and charged Maya directly, abandoning technique for brute force. This was the moment she had been waiting for. As he reached her, Maya dropped her own staff and met his charge with precisely applied leverage. Using his momentum and weight against him, she executed a perfect throw that sent the massive Viridian champion crashing into the red sand. Before he could recover, Maya was on him, applying a submission hold that targeted pressure points specific to Viridian physiology, knowledge provided by Earth Intelligence's Xenobiology Division. Drozak struggled briefly, then went still as the hold threatened to render him unconscious. The arena master's hovering platform descended rapidly. "Release the champion," he commanded, his voice shrill with panic. Maya maintained the hold, addressing the arena master directly. "In accordance with your own rules, the match continues until surrender or incapacitation." Murmurs spread through the audience, some outrage, others intrigued by the humans' knowledge of their traditions. The arena master looked trapped between protocol and the unprecedented situation. "Surrender," Maya said quietly to Drozak. "There's no shame in it. I was engineered for this." The champion's eyes burned with hatred, but survival instinct eventually prevailed. "I surrender," he growled through clenched teeth. Maya released him immediately, stepping back and retrieving her staff. She stood calmly in the center of the arena as Drozak slowly got to his feet, disbelief and humiliation evident in every movement. The arena master hesitated before raising his hand toward Maya. The human is victorious." The announcement was met with stunned silence, followed by scattered boos and hisses. But there were also curious murmurs and even a few appreciative sounds from those who valued skill, regardless of species. As guards approached to escort her back to the holding cells, Maya caught sight of several high-ranking Viridians in the Imperial box, engaged in intense discussion. Their attention was fixed on her, expressions unreadable at this distance, but their agitation clear. Good, she thought. Phase 1 complete. On her way out of the arena, she passed Drozak being attended by medical staff. Their eyes met briefly. Beyond the hatred, there was something new in his gaze. A grudging question. "How?" he asked, just loudly enough for her to hear. Maya allowed herself a small smile. You assumed human weakness was our natural state. Your first mistake was believing what you wanted to see. As the guards led her away, Maya knew that her demonstration today would ripple through Viridian society. The Empire had dismissed humanity as insignificant, unworthy of serious consideration in their expansion plans. That perception had just changed forever. In her cell later that night, Maya received confirmation that her neural transmitter had successfully relayed the arena's security vulnerabilities to the hidden human operatives on Varia. The real mission was just beginning. Soon, the Viridian Empire would learn that underestimating humans wasn't merely a mistake in the arena. It was a catastrophic strategic error. Dangerous alliance. Maya's cell in the Viridian high-security detention facility was a model of efficient imprisonment. 3 meters by 3 meters of polished stone with a single recessed light panel that never dimmed and a waste recycling unit built into the floor. No bed, no chair, just empty space designed to slowly break the spirit through sensory deprivation and physical discomfort. For most prisoners, this environment would be psychological torture. For Maya, with her neural implants capable of simulating any environment she chose to recall, it was merely inconvenient. Behind closed eyelids, she walked the forests of Pacific Northwest, where she had trained, felt the phantom sensation of rain on her skin, heard birds calling in the distance. 3 days had passed since her victory in the arena. 3 days without food. A standard Viridian protocol to weaken difficult prisoners. Her enhanced metabolism was drawing on backup energy reserves stored in bioengineered cells throughout her body, but even these wouldn't last indefinitely. The almost imperceptible hum of the cell's energy field changed pitch. Maya opened her eyes, instantly alert. The blue-tinged barrier across the cell entrance flickered, then disappeared. 2 guards stood in the corridor, energy pikes at the ready. Between them waited a Viridian male wearing the gray uniform of Imperial Science Division, adorned with insignia indicating a high rank. Human. The scientist's voice lacked the usual Viridian contempt. You will accompany us. Maya rose smoothly to her feet, betraying none of the muscle fatigue from days of inactivity. Where? The scientist seemed surprised by the direct question. Prisoners didn't typically expect answers. Assessment, he replied after a moment's hesitation. She stepped forward, hands held open at her sides in the universal gesture of non-aggression. 1 guard moved behind her while the other took point, both maintaining a careful distance. They had clearly been briefed on her combat capabilities. The corridors of the detention facility were an intentional maze, a security feature to prevent escapes. Maya's neural computer mapped each turn and intersection, comparing the layout to theoretical models of Viridian architectural principles studied by Earth intelligence. She estimated they were moving deeper into the facility rather than toward the standard interrogation sections. After passing through 7 security checkpoints, they arrived at a laboratory complex. Unlike the stark brutality of the detention areas, this space gleamed with advanced technology. Holographic displays floated above workstations, and the air hummed with the subtle vibration of quantum computing systems. The guards directed her to a central platform surrounded by sensor arrays. The scientist gestured for her to stand in the center. This is a non-invasive biological scanning system, he explained, surprising her again with the voluntary information. It will not harm you. Maya stepped onto the platform, maintaining a neutral expression. May I know the purpose of this scan? The scientist studied her with large violet irised eyes. Curiosity. Your performance defied all established Viridian knowledge about human physiology. The scanning system activated, surrounding her with a grid of light that shifted through various spectrums. Maya knew it would detect her basic enhancements: increased muscle density, reinforced skeletal structure, enhanced lung capacity. But the more sophisticated neural technology was designed to appear as natural tissue to all but the most specialized medical equipment. I am Krev Lorith, Chief Xenobiologist of the Imperial Science Division, the scientist said as he monitored the incoming data. Or rather, I was until 3 days ago. Maya caught the implication immediately. My victory cost you your position. Krev made a gesture that might have been the Viridian equivalent of a shrug. I had published extensive research on human physiological limitations. Your demonstration proved my conclusions inaccurate. The scanning grid dissipated. Krev moved to a console and studied the results, his scaled brow furrowing. Fascinating, he murmured. Your muscle fiber density is nearly triple our baseline measurements for humans. Bone density enhanced by approximately 67%. Cardiovascular system. He looked up sharply. These are not natural developments. Maya said nothing, letting him draw his own conclusions. Earth has been conducting biological enhancement programs, Krev stated. How widespread is this technology? Is it reserved for military applications or available to your general population? Again, Maya remained silent. Information warfare was as important as physical combat in her mission parameters. Krev seemed to accept her reticence. The High Command has taken a particular interest in your case. There is considerable debate about the implications of your abilities. A door at the far end of the laboratory slid open. 4 Viridians entered, their military uniforms adorned with the elaborate insignia of senior command. They moved with the confident bearing of those accustomed to absolute authority. Science Division has had sufficient time for preliminary assessment. The foremost officer stated, his tone making it clear this wasn't a request. The prisoner will be transferred to military intelligence for interrogation. Krev's posture stiffened. Commander Vex, my analysis is incomplete. The physiological anomalies require further. Your analysis is irrelevant, Lorith, the commander interrupted. Your failure to accurately assess human capabilities has already been noted in your permanent record. The High Command requires actionable intelligence, not academic curiosity. Maya observed the exchange carefully. Tension between Viridian military and scientific divisions could provide exploitable fractures in their command structure. Commander Vex approached Maya, evaluating her with cold calculation. The human will be subjected to neurochemical interrogation. Prepare it for transport. The subject has been without nutrition for 3 standard days, Krev objected. Neurochemical procedures require metabolic stability to ensure accurate results. Then provide minimal sustenance. Vex turned to leave, clearly considering the matter settled. Krev's scales darkened slightly, a physiological sign of anger in Viridians. Commander, I must formally note that premature interrogation violates protocol established by the Imperial Science Authority. Vex paused, turning slowly to face the scientist. The Imperial Military Authority supersedes scientific protocol during matters of strategic security. This creature's existence represents a potential threat to expansion operations in the human sector. Maya absorbed this information while maintaining her passive stance. Expansion operations. The confirmation of Earth intelligence's worst fears. The Viridian Empire had placed humanity's home within their conquest parameters. One of Vex's subordinates approached with restraints designed for dangerous prisoners. Molecular bonds that would adjust to any attempt at breaking them by increasing their structural integrity. These are unnecessary, Krev said. The subject has been cooperative. The subject disarmed and defeated our arena champion, Vex responded. We will take no chances. The first tremor was so subtle that only Maya noticed it. A minute vibration transmitted through the floor. Her enhanced senses, attuned to environmental changes, registered the anomaly immediately. The second tremor, seconds later, was strong enough that laboratory equipment began to sway slightly. The Viridians exchanged confused glances. Seismic activity is not common in this region, Krev noted with scientific detachment that didn't quite mask his concern. Maya recognized the pattern, not natural seismic activity, but precisely sequenced charges designed to target structural weak points. The hidden human operatives had received her neural transmission and were executing the extraction plan ahead of schedule. The third tremor was unmistakably an explosion. Alarm systems activated throughout the facility, bathing the laboratory in pulsing red light. Commander Vex barked orders into his communication device, but received only static in response. Communication jamming. Maya observed calmly, speaking for the first time since entering the laboratory. Standard insurgent tactic. Vex's attention snapped back to her. You know something about this. Before she could respond, the facility's power grid failed. Emergency systems engaged immediately, but the momentary darkness was sufficient distraction for Maya's purposes. She dropped to the floor as the restraint-bearing officer lunged forward, causing him to stumble over her. In one fluid motion, she swept his legs from under him and relieved him of his sidearm. The laboratory erupted into chaos. The military officers drew weapons while the two guards who had escorted Maya moved to flank her. Krev, unarmed and caught between factions, backed toward his workstation. Neutralize the human, Vex shouted, taking cover behind a substantial piece of laboratory equipment. Maya had already calculated her options. The Viridian military sidearm was unfamiliar, but its basic design principles were intuitive enough. She fired a controlled burst at the ceiling power conduits, causing a cascade of sparks and smoke that further confused the situation. In the ensuing seconds, she eliminated the immediate threats with non-lethal precision, a shot to a guard's leg, another to disable Commander Vex's weapon. She could have killed them all, but dead Viridians would only intensify the Empire's resolve against humanity. Wounded pride would be more tactically useful in the long term. A secondary explosion rocked the facility. Closer this time, part of the laboratory ceiling collapsed, crushing equipment and blocking one of the exits. Maya moved decisively through the smoke and debris, headed for the second exit. Wait, Krev called after her. You'll never navigate the security systems alone. Maya paused, assessing the scientist quickly. His disgraced status within the hierarchy, his conflict with military authority, his scientific curiosity about her capabilities, all potential leverage points. Then come with me, she said simply. Krev's scales rippled with surprise. You're offering to take a Viridian hostage. I'm offering you a choice. Stay here and face blame for my escape, or come with me and learn more about humans than any Viridian ever has. Another explosion emphasized her point, this one close enough to shatter several glass containment units. Time was running critically short. Krev hesitated only briefly before moving toward her. This facility has 16 security layers between here and the surface. I'm counting on you knowing all of them, Maya replied, gesturing him ahead of her with the appropriated weapon. They moved swiftly through the increasingly damaged facility. True to his word, Krev guided them through security checkpoints, using his still-active credentials to bypass barriers that would have taken Maya precious time to overcome. The knowledge that Commander Vex would report his actions as treason seemed to strengthen the scientist's resolve with each passing minute. The facility had descended into controlled chaos, emergency protocols being executed amidst the uncertainty of an unprecedented attack. Viridian security forces were focused on defending against external threats, giving Maya and Krev opportunities to move through less monitored sections. The next checkpoint requires command-level authorization, Krev informed her as they approached a heavily fortified security barrier. My credentials are insufficient. Maya studied the barrier briefly. Alternative routes. Maintenance Access Tunnel, Section 47B. Krev pointed to a recessed panel in the corridor wall, used for servicing the decontamination systems. The panel yielded to Krev's biometric signature, revealing a cramped tunnel barely large enough for them to crawl through. Maya gestured for him to enter first, following closely behind as they navigated the claustrophobic space. Why are you helping me? She asked as they moved. Your actions are treasonous by Imperial standards. Krev was silent for several meters before responding. The Empire's response to your arena victory troubled me. Science Division advocated for study, understanding. Military Command immediately classified humans as a strategic threat requiring preemptive action. And you disagree with that assessment? I believe in evidence-based conclusions. The Empire's history of species subjugation is not always aligned with rational analysis. They emerged from the maintenance tunnel into a larger corridor bearing signs of recent combat, scorch marks from energy weapons and scattered equipment. Maya detected the distinctive residue of Earth Defense Force tactical explosives. Her extraction team had been through here recently. "We're approaching the surface level," Krev noted. "Security will be heavily concentrated at all standard exits." "We won't be using standard exits," Maya replied. A distant rumble, followed by the distinctive sound of structural collapse, confirmed that the extraction team was creating alternative exit points. Maya consulted her mental map of the facility, calculating the most likely locations. They rounded a corner to find 3 Viridian security officers engaged in a firefight, with unseen opponents at the far end of the corridor. Maya pulled Krev back into cover before they were noticed. "Those are baryon-class weapons," Krev whispered, recognizing the distinctive energy signature. "Rebellion forces, but they've never breached a primary Imperial facility before." Maya didn't correct his assumption. Let him believe this was part of an internal Viridian conflict, rather than a coordinated human operation. She analyzed the tactical situation quickly. The security officers were focused entirely on the threat ahead, unaware of their presence behind. The confrontation provided both opportunity and cover. "Stay close," she instructed Krev. "When I move, you move." Taking advantage of a particularly intense exchange of fire, Maya darted across the corridor into a recessed doorway, pulling Krev with her. The door was secured, but yielded to a calculated shot at its control mechanism. They slipped inside, finding themselves in what appeared to be a communications center, mercifully unoccupied. "Emergency evacuation protocols will have triggered automated procedures," Krev explained, moving to a terminal. "All command staff would be relocated to secure bunkers beneath the facility, which means reduced security at specific evacuation points," Maya concluded. "Can you access the protocol details?" Krev's long fingers moved across the terminal interface. "My access is limited, but—" He stopped suddenly, staring at the display. "This can't be right." Maya joined him at the terminal. "What is it?" "These are tactical deployment orders issued by High Command 3 days ago, immediately following your arena victory." Krebs' voice had fallen to a stunned whisper. "Operation Solar Eclipse, a full-scale invasion plan targeting the Sol system. Your home." The screen displayed Viridian fleet movements, resource allocations, and preliminary invasion strategies. Earth intelligence had suspected Viridian interest in the Sol system, but not that plans were already this advanced. "This isn't a reaction to one human's abilities," Maya said grimly. "This was already in motion." "Yes, but your demonstration accelerated the timeline." Krev scrolled through additional data. "They fear what your enhancements represent, the possibility that humanity might present genuine resistance." A new explosion, much closer, interrupted their discovery. Debris rained from the ceiling as the facility's structural integrity began to fail. "We need to move," Maya urged, memorizing as much of the invasion plan as possible. Her neural computer would compress and encrypt the data for later transmission. As they left the communications center, the corridor had cleared. Both security forces and their opponents had moved elsewhere. Maya led them toward the source of the explosions, confident that she would find her extraction team at the center of the destruction. They navigated through increasingly damaged sections of the facility, occasionally encountering wounded Viridian personnel who paid them little attention amidst the crisis. Emergency bulkheads had activated in some areas, forcing detours through maintenance sections that Krebs' knowledge proved invaluable in navigating. "Why are you taking me with you?" Krev asked as they paused at an intersection, checking for threats. "I've served my purpose in helping you escape." Maya evaluated the scientist thoughtfully. "You've seen data that your own leadership would kill to suppress. You've aided an enemy of the Empire. Your choices have already set you on a new path." Krev Loreth. "So I'm your prisoner?" "No. You're potentially the first Viridian to understand humanity as we truly are, not as your Empire's propaganda portrays us." She gestured at the destruction around them. "This conflict doesn't have to be inevitable." Before Krev could respond, the wall beside them exploded inward. Through the dust and debris stepped three figures in the distinctive armor of Earth Defense Force Special Operators. Their helmets concealed their faces, but their human proportions were unmistakable. The lead operator raised his visor, revealing a weathered human face with a jagged scar running from temple to jaw. Operative Chen. Extraction Protocol Echo 79 is active. His eyes shifted to Krev, weapon raising slightly. You've acquired a companion. He comes with us, Maya stated firmly. Krev Lorith, former chief xenobiologist. He has critical intelligence regarding Viridian operations. The operator didn't lower his weapon. Bringing an Imperial scientist into an Earth facility requires authorization beyond my clearance. The intelligence justifies the risk. Operation Solar Eclipse. The operator's expression hardened at the code name. Confirmed. The package and the Viridian. Move out. They escorted Maya and Krev through the breach and into a series of pre-cleared corridors. Two operators took point while the third covered their rear. The precision of their movements, the efficiency of their communication, all spoke to the extensive preparation behind this extraction. Your people created this diversion solely to retrieve you, Krev asked, clearly reassessing the value the humans placed on a single operative. No, Maya replied. My extraction is one objective among several. They emerged onto the facility's ground level, where the damage was most extensive. Entire sections of the structure had been strategically collapsed, creating a path of destruction that led toward the outer perimeter. Ahead, through a massive breach in the exterior wall, Maya could see the harsh landscape of Varia's northern district, and the sleek outline of a stealth transport waiting under active camouflage. Freedom was less than 100 meters away when alarms blared with renewed urgency. Heavy security doors began descending throughout the facility. Lockdown protocol, Krev shouted. They're sealing the entire complex. The lead operator cursed. We have 30 seconds before that transport has to leave, with or without us. They sprinted toward the breach, Maya adjusting her pace to ensure Krev kept up. The Viridian's physiological differences meant he wasn't built for the same kind of sustained speed as humans, but desperation proved a powerful motivator. They were meters from the breach when a final security barrier began descending directly in their path. The operators fired concentrated energy bursts at the mechanism, slowing but not stopping its descent. Go, the lead operator urged Maya toward the narrowing gap. She ducked under the barrier, pulling Krev down with her. They rolled clear just as the barrier sealed with a resonating thud, separating them from two of the operators. Get to the transport, the lead operator ordered through the barrier. We have alternative extraction. Maya nodded once, knowing that Earth Defense Force operators always had contingency plans. She pulled Krev to his feet, and they ran the final distance to the waiting transport. As they approached, its camouflage field rippled, revealing the sleek black hull of an EDF stealth vessel. A hatch opened in its side. Maya pushed Krev in ahead of her, then turned for one final look at the Viridian facility. What had begun as an intelligence-gathering mission had transformed into something far more significant. The Viridian Empire now knew that humans weren't the easy conquest they had anticipated. As she stepped into the transport and the hatch sealed behind her, Maya knew that the real war was just beginning, and with Krev Lorith's help, humanity might just have gained the advantage they needed to survive it. The transport lifted off, its advanced engines nearly silent as it accelerated rapidly into the atmosphere. Beneath them, the Viridian facility continued to burn, a beacon of defiance visible for kilometers across the harsh landscape. What happens now? Krev asked, his voice barely audible over the transport systems. Maya strapped herself into a seat, gesturing for him to do the same. Now we prepare. Your empire wants war with humanity. We're going to show them why that's the worst mistake they could possibly make.